Coming up on today's episode.
I felt like I was there. I felt,
the
explosions were going off in the theater.
Yeah, it's the only time in my life I've ever seen somebody die. It's almost like
few
being
100,000
human.
years.
It's in our nature to just fight. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, if the
Somebody else
lifeguard
has to-
hadn't swum out and,
Sure.
and gotten you, then you would have been hosed.
Yeah, no.
The answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Ryan Vanderhei, and to my left is my co-host, the extraordinary.
Oh,
Not
extraordinary.
the incomparable, but the extraordinary.
I'll take that.
Joe Parente.
Thanks, man.
On today's episode of Beyond the Frame, we're talking about the 2025 war film Warfare.
Oof.
And the theme we're exploring is looking after one another. There will be spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it, come back, and give us a listen. Also, this is a disclaimer. This is a work of nonfiction about real people who experienced real trauma in war. So we're going to do our best to be respectful and to be delicate with the material and only comment on it as a film, not about the actual events that took place.
Right.
We're coming at this from an artistic point of view. I'm not a analyst of historical
Exactly.
fact.
Exactly.
So with that being said, Joe,
Yeah.
in relation to the topic here, looking out for each other, looking after one another, is there ever a time in your life where you can remember where you had to kind of completely surrender and let go and have someone take care of you? Or vice versa, if there's a situation where somebody completely surrendered to you taking care of them. Like, was there ever, and I'm not talking about when you were a baby and your mom, of course.
Right.
We all have been there. But I'm talking about as an adult throughout your life. Have you ever been put in a scenario like that before?
Perhaps I'm fortunate in the sense that I haven't, because I haven't been in that kind of a situation that I can think where, like I'm in a precarious state and I would need the help of someone. I haven't been in such a state of helplessness that I was really relying on someone to help me in a particular way.
Okay.
Particularly, I'm thinking physically or physiologically. I mean,
Sure.
I just did have my appendix removed about 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I
What a ride.
kind of had to surrender, in
Sure.
that sense.
Yeah.
Fortunately, a great surgeon, and it's not like that's a super complicated thing anymore.
Yeah.
But I think I feel pretty fortunate in that I haven't been in any kind of harrowing position. Have you?
That's a good, no, I mean, not in the way that certainly this movie portrays, or in a lot of what I think you're referring to. That maybe being sick and like relying on someone to take care of me, like I can't get out of bed,
Right.
and somebody's got to maybe make me a bowl of soup. You know what I mean? Like something like that. But I've never really been in a situation not like this, not like what we're talking about, where I completely had to.
Right, like you're swimming in the ocean. There's a riptide. You can't get back, and there, if the
Somebody else
lifeguard
has to-
hadn't swum out and,
Sure.
and gotten you, then you would have been hosed.
Yeah, no.
I haven't been in that particular, because I was thinking about, well, every time I fly, my life is completely in the hands of the pilot.
Sure.
And the mechanics who hopefully did the right stuff on that plane.
Yeah.
And in that sense, it gets me thinking about how many times our lives kind of are in the hands of others, and we don't even really necessarily know that.
You just don't think about it.
We don't think about
It's
it.
unconscious.
Our fellow drivers could take us out at any moment.
Absolutely. It
And
happens all the time.
Yeah, it does happen all the time.
Yeah. Getting an Uber.
Yeah,
Get a
exactly. That's right. So you're
life's in their
actually
hands.
Your life is absolutely in their hands. So in that sense, it's actually a quasi common occurrence.
Yeah, it's a universal experience for most of us.
Right. But thinking about, have I ever been in a harrowing situation or been so physically compromised that I had to rely on someone else? Knock on something magical. No.
Knock on some wood, yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope that's the case for a lot of us.
Me too.
I hope that
Yeah.
a lot of people haven't found themselves in this kind of situation or a life or death, a life threatening where it's like, if you don't help me,
That's right.
I'm left for dead.
The flip side of that is being in the position where you're saving someone's life, because there are people every day who are brave enough to push someone out of the way of the car that's coming and they get hit.
Sure, 100%.
And those people have to make split-second decisions of who comes first.
Right,
And
me or the yeah.
right, and am I going to sacrifice myself to save that person?
Sure, that's a great point.
And I haven't been in that position either.
Right, and neither have I.
Yeah, and
Thankfully.
exactly. And I think in that sense, we're probably the majority, and we're also quite fortunate.
And there was a situation where I was on, I don't know if I've told this story before on the podcast or not, but I was on a camping trip with my dad in Missouri. And
I
this
don't
was
think
a
so.
number of years ago.
Okay.
And he went with like a bunch of group of work, friends. And we're all there at the campsite and we go on a canoe trip. And so we're all canoeing down some river. And there's a woman there who's dating one of the guys that works with my dad.
Okay.
And she, we're on a canoe trip. We're floating down. We're on a float, if you want to say. We're floating down the river.
Okay.
And it's hot. Everybody's having a couple drinks.
Sure.
She had been on some medication.
Oh.
Things didn't mix well. It was just the perfect storm of stuff. And she falls out of the boat. And it was an emergency situation. We had to find shore. Everybody's trying CPR. She's not coming back.
Oh. Whoa.
And my dad ended up being the one. Unfortunately, her daughter and her daughter's friend were with us on the trip. And she goes, they're able to find some way to get a ambulance close to the shore. Like maybe there was a road up at the top and they carried her up there. I don't remember what took place. But my dad ended up being the one that had to row the daughter and her friend to the end of the lake to where the actual road was to then take them to the hospital.
Okay.
It was kind of like a bang situation. One moment, we're on the shore. Everyone's quiet. They're just trying to revive this woman. And then it's like, we need someone to get them to the shore so that they can get in a car to go to the hospital to meet her there. They couldn't ride in the ambulance for whatever reason. And then my dad just ended up being the one to do it. He was like, I'll see you at the end. So I ended up hopping in somebody else's canoe, and then my dad just beelines it, canoeing these two girls who are hysterical, obviously, down to the end of the stream.
Did the woman make it?
No. Yeah, she passed away right then and there.
And you saw it.
Yeah, it's the only time in my life I've ever seen somebody die. She was there. It was.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
It's such a bizarre thing for someone to be there one moment.
Yeah.
And they're not the next. I mean, that is very puzzling.
Yeah.
Because she was just having a drink. We got water guns. We're all just having fun. And then, boop, in the drink. And we were like, what the? And then gone. Wow. So it was such a surreal experience.
Drives home this might sound ridiculous, but the precariousness. I mean, how quickly, how close all of us are. If you
Anything
can't breathe
can happen.
for some reason, doesn't take too long, you're gone. Yeah. My goodness, that is really something.
Yeah, it was. So that's kind of like that just came to me now. I didn't even put that in my notes. I was like, now that I think about it, I've witnessed a similar scenario, although I was thankfully not in that scenario myself. So,
oh, that's a rough one. God, and her daughter was there too.
That was the toughest part. It was like, maybe it's better she was. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
don't even
I know exactly. I don't know either.
It's better that she's there or not there.
Right.
But what I liked about this movie, in particular, was its commitment to authenticity.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean, they
No
didn't
doubt.
try to be anything other than a recreation or a retelling of actual events that took place. I read some reviews and things. I did see some people complaining about no plot, no this, no that. Like I didn't care about the character, whatever. We didn't get to know any of the, and it's like, that wasn't the point.
It wasn't the point.
about that. And I saw an interview with Will Poulter,
Okay, who's great.
who was fantastic in this, and he was saying that one of the things that he was really excited about and why he signed on to do it was that the directors, Ray Mendoza and Alex Garland, said, we're not going to dramatize, we're not going to romanticize, we're not going to use Hollywood language, we're not going to like make this some grand, thing. We're going to just, this is it. This is what happened. This is, there's even at the beginning, before it starts, right? There's the screen that says, this is just from the memories of the guys that were there. That's
right.
it.
That's right.
There is no overly dramatic, romanticized bits and pieces. You are just watching men experience something extremely traumatic.
So true. This, compared to other, like Oh Dark 30, had some really gritty stuff and made you feel like you were really in there. This was submersive in a different way. And this made, to me, so many war movies almost look like, it's kind of like watching The Pit now, which I think is a phenomenal show. Have you ever seen
the medical
Pit?
drama, yeah.
That makes all other medical dramas to me look like a soap opera that takes place in a hospital.
Yeah, it's silly.
Rather
it makes
than
it seem silly.
Exactly.
Because this is bare, it strips away everything. It's bare bones. This is real shit happening to real people.
So The Pit is to most medical dramas as warfare. This movie is to most war movies.
Great way to put it.
Because you really feel like you're in there with them.
Yeah.
And
I felt like I was in the room with those guys.
Yeah. And this is where, what you say to each other is stripped down to necessity. It isn't going to be anything flowery. It's not going to be anything philosophical. It's, we have got to survive. We are in a very, very bad position.
Yep.
And we're doing our best as professional soldiers to get ourselves out of here.
To survive.
To survive.
Exactly.
And even though you might not have seen huge character development, you did get to see what they were made of.
Absolutely. You got a sense of who each of them was.
Exactly.
And what their objective and their commitment to each other.
That's right.
Which is what we're going to talk about here. This idea of looking out for one another, so expressed so brilliantly in this film.
Yes.
I think I can speak for, I feel like the objective of this film was to immerse the audience in warfare.
I totally agree.
And if that is the
worked.
case, then Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza did
Absolutely.
exactly that.
They sure did.
I saw this in IMAX.
Yeah, me too.
Woo-hoo!
Yeah.
I felt like I was there. I felt, I think
yeah.
explosions were going off in the theater.
I had that startle reaction several times.
Everyone did, not
the
just
first
you.
fly through, or what was the term? I can't remember what they called it.
Yeah, a show of force.
Show of force.
Yeah, just do a flyby in the F-16.
Man, I jumped.
Oh yeah, the whole theater. Everyone around me was like, wow. It was so incredibly immersive and loud and devastating, and
Yeah.
it was a tough watch at times.
Oh, sure it was.
That's part of the point to me.
It is.
Again,
absolutely.
we're not romanticizing. We're saying
no.
this is the nasty, gritty,
That's right.
harsh reality of war.
Of war. I went out. I met some friends for drinks right after seeing this, and I was a bit. I shouldn't say shell shocked because that's not giving respect to people who are actually shell shocked. But I was
dazed.
I was dazed by this movie, and I said to my friends, "This is the closest I feel like I've ever been to being in war." And I already had respect, so much respect for people who are willing to give up their lives for this country. Mm-hmm. And my respect just went up even higher.
100%, you and me both.
Because what they do is extraordinary and it's not seen by most. And I could see why, A, they bond so tightly together, and B, why they would come back and say, how does my life make sense?
How do I function
How
in
do
society?
right, after what I've seen, after what I've been through?
Yeah, it makes complete and total sense.
Oy.
PTSD is an absolute real thing that has happened to a
For
lot
sure.
of people.
And the third thing of like war, just like how horrific it is,
How
and
brutal.
what this species is capable of doing to each other is it's gobsmacking. It's
Hard to
confusing. It's hard to watch, and I think this is where I know we're straying a little bit here, but I just want to make this point. This is
Please.
where like drone attacks and things like that. Rachel Maddow wrote a book about this. She calls it Drift. It's called Drift, her movie. And if a country goes to war, it should feel the pain, if you will, of going to war. It's like the old adage, guns are butter. You know, what can a country make while they're not at war? We can make butter. When we're at war, we make guns. Can't make both. We have to feel that we're in a difficult position because we're at war. And we have created like warfare, like what's happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the country doesn't feel it. And it makes it something that's other, and it happens to other people, and it happens over there. We're fine. You know, I've got my SUV, I've got my big screen TV, I've got what I want.
Sure.
We're not going without because we're at war. And she just talks about how that can be dangerous. It's gotta hurt. There was a great original Star Trek episode about this same thing, where they made war very civilized and what have you. And the whole point was like, no, like a society should feel it if they're at war, because that will give incentive to stop the war. It will give incentive to stop doing what we're doing to each other.
Yeah, you got to feel the pain.
I went into the weeds there a bit, but
No, absolutely. I 100% agree with you. I love that you said that and brought that up. That's so true. War's happening right now
yes,
to a lot of people.
to a lot of people on this planet.
And watching this, it's hard to swallow that there are people out there that are undergoing this right now.
Like Ukraine.
Exactly. It's tough to. We're so far from it. Like you said, I go to the grocery store. I come home. I go into the theater. How great! I'm going to IMAX to watch this movie in the comfort of the air conditioning. And there's people who are fighting for their lives.
That's right.
And so that can be very distant. You feel so disconnected from it.
That's right.
And when do we? I wish we thought more about each other and looked beyond ourselves. I wish. I know I'm like just saying what a lot of us are already thinking, hopefully, but just war should never happen. I mean, it should just never come to that. It should just never happen.
Agreed. And
There's never anything that's that important that requires human beings killing one another. I just can't fathom that. It's so hard for me to grasp.
I'm with you. And yet, look at what's been going on for as long as human beings have been, you know. Our species has been fighting each other for probably as long as we've been this species.
It's almost like
few
being
100,000
human,
years.
it's in our nature to just fight. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
You know, it's tough. But you're right. I mean, go through the history books from the earliest civilization to now. It's been a continuous theme.
Yep.
Conflicts come to a head, and then we fight.
And this is where, you know, also something, negotiations have happened throughout time too. But, you know, I think in modern times, negotiating skills have gotten more developed, but it still hasn't stopped wars.
More developed, but used less.
Yeah, really.
But relied on for less.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, man. We can't go too deep into the weeds of that. We got to talk about this movie.
Let's talk about the movie.
Let's get back on track here. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
So Warfare follows a platoon of Navy SEALs as they embark on a dangerous mission in Ramadi, Iraq during the Iraq War. They get holed up inside of a house, attacked by terrorists, and try to evacuate the area, but things keep going south.
Yep.
Things keep going wrong.
Yeah.
The film was written and directed in part by Ray Mendoza, who is an actual Iraq War veteran, which I think absolutely helped the realism they were able to achieve with this.
Yeah.
It features an all-star cast, including Will Poulter, Joseph Quinn, Cosmo Jarvis. Love Cosmo Jarvis.
He was great.
If you've seen Shogun. Charles Melton, and an incredible DeFaro Wunatai.
Yep.
He was the one running communication through the radio.
Boy, he was good.
He was lights out.
It's a great way to put it.
I loved him.
Yeah.
I loved him.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about specific elements from the film, not necessarily one scene in particular.
Yeah.
So the elements that we're going to discuss first illustrate that this theme of looking out for one another So to start, where else in the world you think you could find people who look out for one another more than in war?
Right. Well,
Than in
because
extreme circumstances.
right, because your lives are on the line. Yep.
I think war is probably where you'll find the most loyal people on earth because of what is at stake.
Right.
Because of its
Right.
survival.
That's
it's
right.
their lives. It's not,
Literally life or death.
if they don't have each other's back, if they're not looking out for one another,
Yeah.
the consequence is extreme.
That's
People
right.
are going to die.
They're going to die anyway. But yes, you are correct.
You know, people are going to die in this situation early before
Right.
they should.
Right.
So, in war, specifically within the military, there becomes this no man left behind sentiment where no matter how badly wounded, how far back, how dire the situation is, you don't leave someone behind because it could be you.
Yeah.
And what would you want?
Yep.
You'd want the helicopter coming to get you. You'd want the tank rolling in just to evacuate you. You would want that. And so there's a lot of selflessness in that because it could turn the other way.
Absolutely.
It absolutely could be every man for himself. You're on your own, man. I got to save
right.
myself here.
That's right.
Survival instincts.
That's right.
But instead, there's a sentiment of that could be me. And if it was, I would want help. And I would want someone to assist me.
That's right.
And so that's where this theme comes from, where I shouldn't say you have to. You don't.
No, you don't.
You
don't.
absolutely don't. It's a choice.
Yeah.
But the military, I speaking specifically the U.S. military, I don't know any other military.
Okay.
But they follow this no man left behind. It's no matter what happens, we're gonna look out for each other.
That's right.
We're gonna you will want the same in return. And so it's an unspoken rule. I mean, we see it throughout this film. We're going to talk about specific parts, but throughout, from the start to the finish, I mean, we start. How'd you like how it started? We start with they're all watching the music video.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the
That was
Pilates or
pretty
whatever
funny.
it was. From
Yeah. It looked like jazzercise.
Jazzercise, yeah. And then the brotherhood
Yeah.
is already there.
Yeah.
The family is already
Yeah.
tight knit.
Yeah.
They're already experiencing this thing together that's very irregular and very out of the norm, and it's pushing you to your psychological and physiological limits, and you're all in it together. And so it just creates this cohesion, this bond that we talked about that in a previous episode. What was it where we were talking about how tragedy brings people together? Flow? Was it
Could
the
be.
Flow episode?
Could be.
That tragedy has a way of bringing
yeah.
people together. All
Yeah, we
'cause all
did.
the
It
different
was
animal
flow.
species
Yeah,
had to
exactly.
rely on
That's
one
right.
another.
Yeah.
This is
Exactly.
the exact same. War is the exact same.
Yeah.
Where we're in an extreme situation, and it just brings us closer together. We got to rely on each other for support.
Yeah.
We can't do it ourselves. You can't go it alone.
And who else can relate?
Exactly. Who else is in that scenario and situation but the people in
That's
that
right.
room, but the people in that house?
That's right.
And so that's why they all
Yep.
looked out for one another so intently.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
it was a ride.
oh boy, my God, was it a ride? It did let off at times. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like it took its foot off the gas, but you knew it could change at any second, and that's what kept the tension going throughout. A grenade could come through the window again, or who knows what could happen.
No idea.
And so it didn't give you a lot of time
Breathing
to
room.
breathe or
Yeah.
just relax.
No, I was tense the whole time.
Very tense hour and a half.
Yeah.
Very loud.
Everybody in the
very
theater
tense.
was quiet. Everyone was just
Yeah.
super locked in. Yeah, very tense.
Agreed.
So we're going to talk about some specific elements. But first, we got to do a bad guy, Ray.
Yes, we do.
So the year this film came out, 2014.
Okay.
The genre, which I thought was an interesting genre to describe this one, but it makes sense.
Okay.
Psychological drama.
Okay.
The setting, present day New York.
Okay.
And the actor,
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons. 2014 New York psychological drama, J.K. Simmons. Do, do, do,
And it's not a musical kind of movie.
It is.
There we go.
That's why I said psychological drama is an
Yeah.
interesting. That's
Well-
straight from IMDb.
Well, he was psychologically hammering Miles Teller.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is Fletcher from Whiplash.
Yeah.
Fletcher does not look out for those around him. Instead, so obsessed with
Nice
greatness, he emotionally destroys his students, losing respect, relationships, and his own humanity in the process.
That's a good bad guy break. I like
I
that.
thought that was pretty
Yeah,
relevant
well done.
to
Yeah,
what we were
well
talking
done.
about here.
Yeah.
So let's get back to warfare. Let's talk about the blood checks.
Oh my.
Throughout the film, whenever they're attacked by either gunfire, explosions, etc., the men do blood checks on one another where they quite literally check for blood on
Right.
the other person's body.
Because they're wearing flap jackets and they're wearing artillery and they're
There's
wearing
so
all
much
kinds
stuff.
of armor and they're wearing so much equipment.
And it's hard to
Yeah.
like do that yourself, especially if you're injured.
and you're in shock
And you're in
or
shock.
potentially.
Absolutely. So you have to assess the damage. Like, where else are you bleeding? Is it just
Right.
this part on your arm, or
Right.
did you get hit in the back?
Yep.
So this is kind of a way to look out for one another in
Yeah.
a physical way.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really interesting at the different times throughout the film, we see that. We see where they do it to one another several different occasions.
Yep.
Any of the guys that got hurt, no matter what,
Yep.
even if they were just shell shocked, it was like, hey man, you were just in that explosion. Let me do a blood check. It's
Yep.
just routine.
Yep.
It's just part of the
Yep.
process. And that's a way, again, you're not thinking about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about the other guy.
You are. You're also thinking about the whole.
Yeah.
Because every man, and it was only men in this movie, every man is an extremely important chain in the link.
Yeah.
Sorry, link in the chain.
Yeah, if one of them's not,
Yeah. Fully functional.
then you lose the
Yeah.
group mentality.
Yeah. And you become compromised.
There's a chink in the armor.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of practicality behind it, but I get what you mean because it is a really important way for them of looking out for each other.
Yeah, and also there was a lot of checking on each other. Whether that was psychologically, whether that was physically, there was a lot of orders of, hey, go check on Tommy. He was near the blast. Go check on, Matt. He was in that gunfire. Or, hey, he's looking a little shell-shocked. Go check on him.
Right.
There was a lot of that. It was
There was a lot of that.
I'm going to keep circling back to this. It was never every man for himself.
True.
It was always keeping your eye on everyone else in the room. As much as you're thinking about yourself, you're thinking about everybody else.
Yeah.
And not only to your effect of that's going to make everyone stronger. That's going to, if one chink in the armor, etc. But that's a person.
Right.
And I would want the same in return.
Right.
As much as in war, these guys are hardened, these guys are gritty, these guys are tough. Sometimes all you need is somebody to say to you, hey man,
Yeah.
are you okay?
Well, because ultimately they're still human.
Absolutely.
Regardless of their training,
It
what
does-
have you.
Exactly.
Their bravery.
These are Navy SEALs. These are some of the most tough guys on planet Earth.
Right. And we saw some of these tough guys really struggling,
Yeah. Really pushed to the limit.
really pushing the limit. One of the commanders, like when the other commander comes from the other unit, it's like,
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
We'll talk
That
about
was a
it.
great scene.
Great scene. But I think that just there was a real sense of camaraderie and almost family-like concern for each other. And now I'm only speculating because I've never been in a situation like this before, a life or death. But I can imagine being in something this grueling, this stressful, this violent, brings you closer to whoever is next to
For
you.
sure.
You need to lean on each other for support.
Yep.
And actually even be mindful and empathetic to your fellow squad mates. You know,
Yeah.
when the one guy do you remember this guy from the second squad that came in and started like calling everybody a sissy, and it's only
He
a paper cut.
Kicked the guy's leg.
The guy's leg's blown off.
I wanted to punch him.
It's hanging on by a so did the other guys.
Yeah.
It's hanging on by a thread, this guy's leg, and he's kicking it.
You know what he struck me as? A guy who's in the army or in the Navy, if you will, because he wants to kill.
Yeah, there are people
He
like
wants
that
to
exist.
kill.
100%.
And being in the military gives him carte blanche to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Because I have friends who've been in the military, and they've said not everyone has honorable intentions. There
sure.
are a lot of honorable people in the military, and I have mad respect for that.
Absolutely.
But there are people, and as soon as he kicked that guy's leg, oh, motherfucker.
Yep.
And
you could see how much it pissed off Ray.
Right, and you could also see the look on his face. It's like, what? Like, what? You know,
It's a paper cut.
Yeah, like, get over it, dude. I mean, the guy's legs are just, and he had
Gone.
phosphorus burns. I mean, he'd been wailing in pain.
The pain
and this
is
guy had
unimaginable.
no regard for that at all.
That's a guy who's only thinking about himself.
Oh, absolutely. And
He's only out for his own.
he
I'd
did
like to see that guy get his legs blown off.
I
and
wouldn't
see
be
how
surprised if he
reacts.
did. I wouldn't be. Yeah,
I
and
wonder
see
if
how
he'd
he
keep that
reacts.
mentality. I wonder if he'd maintain that.
Yeah, you think it's like
I'm
you think
fine,
that
it's
now,
just a
dude.
paper cut.
Yeah,
I'll be all right. I'll
that
see you
was
guys
amazing.
later.
That was amazing.
Yeah, it was a great moment.
It was a
where
great moment.
We got to see, and that's why I like the character Ray so much,
Mm-hmm.
the one that was running the communications, because he took a real leadership role. I mean,
He
he
did.
wasn't even the
He did.
commander.
No, he wasn't. No, the commander. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think a lot of the other guys respected him a lot, and I think he was intelligent, and I think he was thoughtful and mindful, and I think, again, no man left behind. That guy was not
Yeah.
leaving anyone
No.
behind, and you could tell even when at the end when he gets stuck in the tank that comes,
Yeah.
how disappointed he was that he was leaving his guys.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, he's like, "Shit, man, I'm stuck in the thing. Sorry."
Yeah.
Like you could tell how affected he was by it. Like I shouldn't be in here. I should be in there with them, having their back.
He kept his head better than anyone else, I thought. in
Yeah,
that-
even though
in
you
that
could tell
house.
he was going through.
He was going
it.
through it, but he still kept his head.
Yep.
He really did. He was very impressive.
I didn't even put this in my notes, but it's just coming to me now. I love the moment where he was trying to put the tourniquet on,
Yes.
And he couldn't
he's
do it?
shaking. Yeah.
and then the commanding officer came
Yep.
over.
Yep.
And
I love that because it showed even though he's keeping his head together, he's still human. And I remember before he couldn't get it. He's like, you know?
Yeah, frustrated,
He was
yeah.
so frustrated.
Yeah.
His hands were shaking so badly he couldn't do it. It's little things throughout this whole movie like that.
exactly, that's just a small moment. That's why I didn't even have it in here. But that's just a small moment of that just gesture of
Humanity.
he noticed he's struggling.
Yep.
He can't do it.
Yep.
I'm okay right now. My arms are still. Hey
Yeah.
man, I got it. No worries. Boom.
His head was not okay, but he could get that
Yes.
thing together.
He had his bell rung for sure.
He did.
Every time that show of force came through, those guys were rattled, which was the point. But you got to go through it yourself too. You're calling
Exactly.
it
Even though
yourself.
you know it's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the anxiety. I can't imagine.
Me either.
So, a little interesting fact
Yeah,
about
please.
warfare.
And the movie, not the actual thing.
Yes, the movie Warfare 2025.
Okay.
So in the film, most of the men have a buzz cut. And I heard in an interview that on the first night together, the cast all buzzed each other's heads.
I like that.
And Ray Mendoza, the Iraq war veteran, had told them that in the Navy SEALs program, they shave each other's heads as sort of an equalizer.
Okay.
As, you know, we're all starting at ground zero here. We're all equal here. We're all one and the same. We're kin. The actors said that this really helped them to unite and bond together and realize that everyone had left their egos at the door. And they were all dedicated to making this film together, to just trying to bring it to life in the truest form that it could be.
And they did
And I absolutely they did. They all smashed it, and I really respect that, the commitment. And I think as much as it was an equalizer for the SEALs, I think similarly it was an equalizer for the actors. Because nobody was there with like, oh man, no, I got great hair, man. I'm not trying to, there was none of that. There was
Right.
Nobody was above it. Everybody came in and is like, yeah, we're all committed to this. And when that happens, when you're working on a project, that helps everybody mesh and come together so much more. If you see someone who's like not given the energy
Yeah.
and just taken away from everyone else who's excited and who's committed and who's doing the thing, it's like, it's just a leech sucking the air out of the room.
For sure. Yeah.
So I thought that was so...
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I love that
Yeah.
they all did that.
Yeah.
And I didn't get into the specifics of like the training they went through together or the immersive... I love that they built this entire town.
I was wondering.
This entire street, I should say, not a town. They built this street for them and recreated like the buildings and everything. So it was like this was not on a sound stage. They built that entire street using, set deck and props.
Yeah.
And then so these guys were in it.
Yeah. I
To
love it.
recreate that realism.
Yeah.
And that's why it came through so well in the film. As we're watching
sure
it, we're
did.
like, shit, I'm in the room.
Oh, I felt like I was, yeah.
I felt right
Yeah.
here with these guys.
Oh, yeah.
It was whew,
Really, really effective.
really effective. So I also want to talk about the guys stacking up on each other. This is something I know you do in the military. I know you do as a SEAL, but in the context of what we're talking about, looking out for one another, there's a reason why they do it. They anytime they go into a room, anytime they go through a doorway, anytime they're
Last
moving at all,
Yeah.
there's a hand on the guy in front of you.
Yep.
And then the guy behind you's got his hand on you. It's a
Yep.
chain.
Yep.
It's a
Yep.
a link
Yep.
bringing everyone together. No matter what they do, if they're moving at all, they form this physical bond so that they can stick together and not have anyone fall behind.
Exactly. I also liked, I love that part of it. I also love like when the show of force is coming, or even when the tanks were hopefully coming to rescue them. 2 minutes out, everyone repeats. 2 minutes out, everyone. It kind of made me think of, like in baseball, outfielder makes an out and then, puts up two fingers, 2 outs, everybody, 2 outs.
Yes, to make sure everyone's on the same page.
To make sure everyone's on the same page. And
Absolutely, you're
I
right.
really-
Everyone's got to say it. Minute out, minute out, minute out, minute
That's
out.
right.
We're
That
all on
you
the same
clock
page.
what's going on and that you get it.
And if you didn't hear, if somebody's shell shocked, whatever,
Right.
hey, go check on him.
Yeah.
Let him know
exactly.
we're a minute
That's
out.
right.
Because there was times where we see our lead character, if you want to call him that. There wasn't really a lead in this film, but Will Poulter's character, where his bell is rung, he's hurt, there's something, he is not okay, and somebody's got to come tell him, let him know, hey man, we're X amount out, because he's like in his own world of pain, suffering.
Yes. When Ray said to him, what should we do? And he said, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it took your commanding officer
Yeah.
to say that, yeah.
Wow.
So in this movie, you really get the sense that everything is about minimizing casualties and ensuring that you get the job done with everyone still intact.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this is a job.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just their job. They're not
Yeah.
a computer software programmer or a nurse or whatever.
Yeah.
They're in war, and there's a duty and there's a job to carry out, and they're all trying to do it together.
Yeah.
And they're wanting to not lose anybody, not have anyone die on your watch, not lose one of your brothers, one of your kin, somebody you've become close to, your family.
Yeah.
He's got a family back home, maybe.
Yeah. And kill the enemy.
and eliminate your threat.
Your threat. Right.
Yeah, because they're a threat to you.
Yep.
They're a threat to your country in some cases. So I want to talk about what you alluded to earlier, which was Jake, played by Charles Melton, the leader of the second squad that comes in, taking over for Eric, played by Will Poulter, when he got messed up from the IED. They went outside to try to go to get Cosmo. I don't remember his character name. Cosmo's into the tank that came.
Yeah.
And there was an IED out there set so that everybody blows up. One of them got blown in half. That guy's dead.
Yep.
And then the rest of them got injured. And so from that moment on, Eric was
A mess.
he was going through it.
Yeah.
And as soon as the second squad comes in, everybody gets settled. Jake comes to check on Eric. And Eric tells him, hey, man, like, I'm messed up. I am jacked up right now. And I'm going to need you to run point. And I love that there was not even a thread or a second of hesitation. It wasn't even a second. Sure, it's his job, but he sees that Eric is struggling. And you can see that there is a desire in him to help out his fellow brother.
Agreed. I was really trying to clock Jake's face to see what was on there. And I think part of it was because he did have a look on his face to me. There wasn't hesitation like he wasn't going to do it. But I thought, what's that look I'm seeing on his face? Because he's looking at him, and I think he's trying to evaluate the seriousness of Eric's condition. He's also probably strategizing, okay, I've got to take over this. I've got 2 squads, don't know everyone's names. We're in this very precarious position. But there was something about how he didn't hesitate, but did you clock that too?
I clocked it too. Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was processing.
Yeah.
I thought it was processing
Yeah,
what the information that he had just. I mean, you walk in there not thinking that that's going to be the case.
No.
I mean, he thought he was going to. Okay, here's the other.
Right.
Squad leader.
Yeah, and he'll probably take over because he's already been here. He knows the guys, knows the situation.
He'll fill me in. We'll work together, and then we'll get everybody out of here. And then it was like, oh.
And then he just truly stepped up and did it, and he was effective.
Absolutely.
And he
got everybody out of there.
Made decisions that needed to be made.
Yeah, that one time where the guy, he tells Ray to
be the commanding officer.
You'll be the commanding officer.
That's
Call
right.
him
I loved that. They weren't going to be able to get rescued unless a CO signed off on this. You're going to be that CO.
Yeah.
And Ray's like, oh, yes, sir.
Yep. Okay.
And he did it.
And that's one of those calls. That's one of those game time decisions.
That's right. That's an audible. Talk about
an audible that's going to either make or break.
Yeah.
Because it was to destroy the top of the building.
That's right.
Right? It was to get the tanks to come back.
Exactly.
And destroy, because there was guys. Because they had the UAV, if you will, above that was showing them heat signatures. And they're like, yeah, but you got to get your guys off the roof. And he's going,
we don't have
any guys on the roof. So get the tanks to come back and shoot and kill the guys on the roof, or get them off at least, and then we can get out of here. But that's crazy to be like, because even the guys on the radio were like, are you sure?
Yeah.
You're in the building.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, do it.
Yep.
So you get everybody to come downstairs. I also liked how they were always looking after the family that was there too. Anytime something was happening, a show of force, when the grenades were going off, whatever it was, somebody, one or two, was going into that room and like shielding the family, because they're just an innocent bystander.
Yeah, and their house gets completely decimated.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I hear you.
It's like, again, we're thinking about people outside of ourselves. There is no selfishness here outside of that one asshole.
Yeah.
That came in.
Boy, he stood out.
Like Rambo. But other than him, everyone was looking out for the next person.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
And that really came through in this film.
Yep.
I enjoyed it. I thought that it was effective. It was immersive. I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
I loved the actors. I loved the the realism they were able to create when that ID went off,
Oh my
and the
God.
sound, and they're all trying to they're all dazed and trying to find out where they are, and
If they're
is my leg
injured and
hurt, or
who else is injured.
you
and-
know,
yeah.
that was just. And Cosmo Jarvis, please, this guy is unreal. I can't wait to see what he does next, because he's British.
Wow.
And he did an American Southern accent
Yeah, he sure did.
like
really well.
no other.
Yeah. Agreed.
And I just loved it. I thought he was fantastic. So kudos to the guys that made this
Yep.
film a reality. Kudos to the men. Hats off to the men that actually were a part of this. We got to see all of them, you know, blurred faces most,
Yeah.
but at the end of the film, the real men the actors were portraying, and it just brought it home.
Yeah.
It brought it home. Yes, I just saw a reenactment. I saw actors. I saw, you know, movie magic.
Yeah.
But
Those are real soldiers, real people.
when you see the photos at the end,
Yeah.
you're like, oh,
yeah.
man, those were all real guys that had to go home.
Yep.
that hopefully got to go home.
Hopefully.
That were lucky enough
And you
to
gotta,
go home.
I wonder, I would really love to see how, if they watched that film, how it struck them.
Oh, yeah, that would be. Would you want to watch that?
Yeah, exactly. Would you want to relive that?
Would you want to relive? Most of them have probably tried to get over what
Sure.
happened and
Yeah.
deal with that and process that. I can't
Yeah.
imagine it would be healthy
Probably not.
to.
But I'd be curious.
I'd be curious too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So let's give these people some recommendations,
Sure.
shall we?
Let's do it.
So, if you want to watch movies that explore the theme of looking after one another, here's 5 you can stream right now. For a movie about a dysfunctional family coming together to support one of their own, check out the 2006 film
God.
Little Miss Sunshine,
Love that film.
now streaming on Hulu. We'll do
Love
that at
that.
some point. We'll do an episode.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For a movie about a mother shielding her son from the harsh reality of their situation, check out the 2015 film Room,
Okay.
now available on Amazon Prime.
Nice.
For a show about weathering life's storm as a family, check out the 2016 TV series This Is Us, now streaming on Peacock.
Okay.
For a film that gives an intimate look into caretaking, check out the 2011 film The Intouchables, now available on Amazon Prime. And for a film about looking out for and taking care of our elders, check out the 2019 film The Farewell, now streaming on Hulu. That's a good
Okay.
one.
Haven't seen that.
Aquafina, great.
Okay.
Really, really
check it out.
moving
Right on.
movie. Can't recommend enough. So what did we learn
So much.
from watching Warfare, Joe? Well, we learned a lot. We learned that war is gruesome,
Yeah.
unrelenting,
Yep.
and traumatizing. But what we also learned is that by looking after one another, by thinking of the person next to you as much as you are thinking of yourself, we can all have a significant positive impact on each other. If we all collectively followed an unspoken rule of checking in on one another more often, the road would be a much better place,
Wouldn't it?
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
We can hope.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, as always, you're the main character in your own life. So don't be afraid to take a step back and take a look at the bigger picture. Because sometimes the answers that you're looking for, they're lying just beyond the frame. We'll see you next time. Peace.